So, hello and welcome. Dave Coplin here with another Rise of the Humans workshop. This week we are going to be learning about algorithmic bias. So I talked recently about algorithmic bias, so you understand this is about how the data that we use to train the algorithms is biased in itself, and so it will actually create biased results. Here's a little demonstration, a little workshop that you can try at home that shows that principle, and it's a really great way of A, understanding how algorithms work, but B, if you can do it with your kids, it's an engaging way for them to start to understand how the results that they see from the algorithms that they use every day, from YouTube to Google to whatever it might be, contain these human flaws, these human problems that we have to work through. So if you're going to do this, there's a few things you're going to need. You're going to need a laptop or an internet connected tablet. You're also going to need a webcam. There's some specific workshop resources that I've created for this, and there is a download link you'll find in the video below. And the resources are basically a series of pictures. If you want to, you can print them out. Sorry, let's try and get them so they're not all bleached or burnt out. It's fun if you print them out. You don't have to print them out. You can just use them as files. One of the things that you might find easy to do is actually put the images on your smartphone and then actually hold the smartphone up to your webcam. And there's a sample image right there for you. That's all good. It's going to take you about an hour, and best of all is it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to do. It's based on some free resources from a bunch of different people. So let's get started. And speaking of free resources from a bunch of different people, let me flip to where this comes from. So there are a group of fantastic people at MIT in the States who've put together this incredible curriculum for middle school students. So I actually think it's pretty accessible for everybody, but a whole series of exercises and projects that you can use to help people understand how artificial intelligence works. And so I have this here. It's really, really useful. You can find it. Again, I'll put the link in the comments below for you to check the resources. But this resource uses a fantastic, again, another free tool called the Teachable Machine. And this is from our friends at Google, who have created a really accessible and engaging way for you to train your own algorithms. And it's funny because, I started to use this for what I affectionately call the kids show, for the show that I do for kids and parents and teachers, to kind of give them a sense of how algorithms work. But what I found is actually it goes down really, really well with adult audiences. When I'm doing my corporate work, being able to demonstrate this live on stage really just breaks down the barriers, and it helps people see what can be possible. So let's jump in and let's look at the machine itself. So the Teachable Machine is a bunch of different examples that we can use. It actually enables you to create lots of different kinds of projects and also export the projects and do different things with them. We'll come back to them in another episode. So we can do stuff with images, we can do stuff with audio, we could even do stuff with a webcam and poses. So it sort of uses the camera to understand different poses. We are today going to do an image project. So come on, then let's take a look at the Teachable Machine. So actually, for us to do this, let me just drop out of the image because then I can show you the screen a bit more clearly. There are three parts to a structured machine learning model. There's the data sets and the classifications, and that's this column here on the left. There is the learning algorithm, which is this centerpiece. So this is where the algorithm ingests all of the data, looks at all of the data that we've given it and creates a model based on that. And then there's the final section, prediction. So we've got data classification, learning algorithm, and then we've got prediction. And so let's add some data to this. Let's use the example data that I've brought in. There's a couple of ways you can do this. The fun way is to do it with a webcam. Let me just give you a demonstration here. I'm going to switch to this. I've just got a GoPro set up on my desk acting as a webcam. And so what you can do is I can show it in image. So again, here is my printed out image that I talked about, and this could be on a smartphone, could be on a piece of paper, and then I click on the hold to record and it captures that data. So you can do that for each of the sample images. And again, if you're doing this with kids, that's kind of a more engaging way to do it. I'm going to cheat because I'm doing it as a demo for you guys, and so I'm actually just going to input all of the data. I'm just going to import all of the data. So here's my cat sample images. They're from the initial data set, and so I just ingest those. There's my 15 images of a cat. So we're going to call the data classifier, guess what, we're going to call it cats. And I am going to create my second data classifier Obviously it's dogs. And again, I'm just going to upload those images. Again, you could upload them straight from the webcam if you wanted to. So let's go to dogs, and I'll take my 5 dogs. So now I've got my data classification in the right place. I've got my data sets and my classifications in the right place. I'm going to train the model. Look out for a really important little notice from Google. Says that don't switch tabs. This is because the whole process is happening in your browser. So none of the data is being sent up to Google servers. That's kind of good to know when you want to play around with your own data later on. So I'm just going to flip back to my GoPro. And here I've got my printouts of my test data set, so I can show it one of the images. If I get the angle right, it thinks it's a cat. That's very good. Let's see if we can get a test data set right. So you can see that it's not pretty sure. It's fluctuating in and out. What we can do, just to make this a bit clearer, is rather than use the camera images, although again that's pretty easy to do, let's just flip to a file and then let's go and choose an image for it to analyze specifically. Again, really important that we go to our test data set. So let's pick on the lovely Opie and we'll go through and it's got a dog. For Opie, that's fantastic. So it is, you can see the confidence as well. So it's 87% that Opie is a dog, 13% possibility that it's a cat. I'm not sure how Opie would feel about that. Let's try a couple of other images. Let's look at Meg in her finest. Now look at that. So again, the algorithm thinks that an image that is clearly to us a dog is actually more likely to be a cat in the eyes of the algorithm. Now, let's have a look at that. Why do we think? Let's just see if we can get it to do it one more time. Let's pick one of these again. So dog, cat, who knows? The algorithm certainly doesn't. Let's pick one more. Here's lovely Jess. Now, why do you think that's happening? Why do you think something that is so clearly obvious to us that this might be a cat, so it might be a dog, excuse me, the algorithm thinks is a cat? Well, have a look at the data that we've trained the algorithm with. Look, there are 15 examples of cats that we've given the algorithm, but only 5 of dogs. So because we've given it more data of cats, it's more likely to think that the image that we show it is a cat. Do you understand? So why don't we change our sample data, the data that we use to train the algorithm, and see if we can get any better results. So what I'm just going to do, I am going to remove all samples of cats and remove all samples of dogs, and I'm going to add in some new samples. Now this comes from the recurating data set that you'll find in your folder, and really all this is it's a more balanced set of inputs. So I've got a range of pictures of cats, and let's go and get some more pictures of dogs. Again, I'm just bringing the files in very quickly for demonstration purposes. You could so easily be doing this with your kids and some printouts, or with your smartphone. It's all up to you. So now I'm going to go back to my model. I'm going to go back to train my model. And again, it's processing all of that data and it builds me a classification, and it's giving me back that webcam. And let's flip to a file instead. There we go. And let's go. So let's import one of our other test data sets. So let's start with the lovely Opie, and look at that, brilliant. It's actually even less certain that Opie is a dog. He's going to love me for that. In fact, we should try that on the camera in a minute. Let me go to, if you remember, Meg. We weren't sure about. Meg is now 97% a dog. Jess, she's gone from being a cat to a dog. Think about what's happened. All that's really happened here is we've uploaded a different set of data. The data is more balanced, and now the algorithm is able to work a bit more effectively. Why don't we see if we could do a real life test? Let me see whose attention I can get. Meg, come on, sweetie. Meg, come on, come and see. Come and see what I've got for you. Look, here's a little, look at them. Can I have the ball? I'll have the ball. Let me see. There we go. Look at that. There's the lovely Meg. And we've got a dog with a ball. So there you go. That was just a super quick high level overview of how the data that we use to train the algorithms is so crucial in getting the right results from the algorithms. It's a great example for you to run through to learn about bias. And that's also a great example to teach your kids about how this all works and how that relationship becomes so important, especially in a world where increasingly the questions that we're going to be asking of the algorithms are going to become more and more important to our everyday lives. So having a sense of not just how they work, but also being able to interpret their results and understand where there may be bias present is going to be really important to us going forward. I really hope you've enjoyed that. I've also created a little Kahoot quiz. So again, if you want to run through the workshop that I've just listed, there's some questions here to sort of test your learning as a bit of fun for you as well. And I'll put the link to that Kahoot quiz in the comments below. Look, that's been a workshop on algorithmic bias. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something from it. Give me some feedback. Tell me what we could do better, other topics that you'd like to see, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining.